New Genesis is a fictional planet appearing in American comic books published by DC Comics. The planet is in a parallel dimension adjacent to the main DC universe. This planet, along with Apokolips, is speculated to be near the constellation Orion. It is the home planet of the New Gods from Jack Kirby's Fourth World comic book series. Since the planet exists in a parallel dimension, it is only accessible by a method of travel called a boom tube. Fictional history. New Genesis and its dark counterpart Apokolips were spawned by the destruction of Orion, the world of the old gods, initially implied to be the gods of classical mythology, though versions of these characters have since been revealed to still exist in the DC universe. New Genesis and Apokolips are locked in an eternal war, symbolizing the struggle of good and evil on a grand mythic scale. New Genesis is ruled by a being known as the High Father, a spiritual leader who maintains his people's connection to the primal energy field known as the Source. The original High Father, Isaiah the Inheritor, has since perished and been replaced by Earthling superhero Tachyon, a living conduit of the Source. In contrast to the industrial wasteland of Apokolips, New Genesis is a veritable paradise covered in lush forests and grasslands. The only urban location is Supertown, a floating city designed not to affect the planet's surface. 7 soldiers. Both Apokolips and New Genesis were seemingly destroyed in a final conflict, similar to that which destroyed Orion, home of the old gods, prior to Grant Morrison's 7 Soldiers, Mr. Miracle mini-series. However, the final issue of that series implied that the story's earlier events were merely visions seen by the hero as part of an elaborate test by the new god Metron. It seems that none of these events actually occurred, as the mini-series Death of the New Gods takes place on New Genesis and Apokolips in the first issue, and many of the New Gods and other Fourth World characters are seen in their standard style throughout much of Countdown, Countdown to Mystery, and Superman, Batman. In addition to New Genesis and Apokolips still being in existence and the characters being portrayed as they have always been, there is no mention of any of the 7 Soldiers events. It has since been revealed that 7 Soldiers is indeed part of established history, as its characters reappear in the final crisis and its events are referenced. It transpires that when Darkseid died, when and how, a subject of some controversy in itself, he fell back through time. He, and many of the other new gods, then incarnated in pre-existing human bodies. Most, if not all of these perished during Final Crisis, releasing their godly essence. Death of the New Gods. At the end of the Death of the New Gods mini-series, with all the gods now dead, the Source entity merges Apokolips and New Genesis into a single planet and indicates that it will possibly be repopulated. Final Crisis. At the end of this story, in issue number 7, the New Gods of Supertown were reborn on Apokolips, itself reborn as New Genesis. New 52. New Genesis reappears in Wonder Woman number 22. Largely the same, though the surface of New Genesis is now littered with the ruins of New Genesis' previous cities. On the surface of the planet, devastated by the New Genesis Apokolips War, New Genesis itself is 10 times the size Earth. Inhabitants. There are 2 types of inhabitants of New Genesis. The first are called the gods, or new gods, the upper class, a race of powerful immortals. The gods live in Supertown. The bugs, the lower class, evolved from micro-life spread on the planet's surface during the Gods' War. They live on the planet's surface, in hives or the bug mound. There is occasionally prejudice between these 2 races, as many of the gods consider the bug people to be a lesser species. Geography. Travel. As it exists in a parallel dimension, Travel between New Genesis and other worlds is only possible via technology known as the boom tube. Dimensional gateways whose creation is signified by a sonic boom. It has been said that in their world, the gods of New Genesis are of gigantic stature, and that travel through the boom tubes rescales them to mortal proportions. In other media, television, New Genesis was featured in the Justice League episode, Twilight. New Genesis was referenced in the Young Justice episode, Disordered. Cosmic Teams. New Gods. Index to the Earth 1/4 World Stories. DCU Guide. Old Gods.